Hey everybody, it's Josh Rutledge, your co-host for FearScape Paranormal Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support us more, please head over to our website, FearScapePodcast.com. There you can click on store and browse some really awesome t-shirts and maybe pick a couple up, or even go to our Patreon page and see how you can support us monthly. We love bringing you awesome content just as much as you like listening to it. Enjoy the show.
Hello, I'm so glad you could join us. I hope you brought your blanket to hide under. The spooky crew is going to discuss things and events from other realms. Ghosts, cryptids, aliens. Be sure to hold your blanket extra tight as the boys take you deep into the FearScape.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another frightening edition of FearScape Paranormal Podcast. That's right. Where do you get your spooky ookie? Here at FearScape. And I am your host, your spookiest host of all, Stefan Gerhardt, and I am joined, as always, by my 100% USDA prime beef choice co-host, Josh Rutledge.
Why, thank you, Steph. And I wonder what kind of cut I would be. I don't know.
You would be a fillet, my friend. Wrapped in bacon and smoking.
See, I think after the day that I have, I feel like I would be a rump roast. But
well, don't worry, because I'm nothing but a slab of cow tongue. So.
Oh my gosh!
And speaking of cow tongue, we've got a very, very special guest, Josh. If you didn't already know this, we've got the real medium herself, Vashti Hooper, also known as Miss V, straight up from Louisville, Kentucky, here to do a Gettin' Spooky with us. How's it going, Miss V?
It's going awesome. I'm like fabulous, and I'm so excited to be with you guys. I really am. Yes.
Well, we are too. We have been looking forward to this for quite some time. It's been a few months to get this finally together, but we got it. And now we're in quarantine. And so.
Right. I know.
So, but we're here.
Oh, nice.
We're going to make this happen, and we're going to get our audience to know who you are, especially our local people, since you're local. But, you know, we got them nationwide listeners, too, that need to know Miss V. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
So, we got a good show, and we're going to go ahead and jump straight into our psychic word of the week. All right. So, of course, listeners, this we take our word or phrase from the Encyclopedic Psychic Dictionary by June Bletzer. This is from 1987. This was given to me by Barbara Jordan, my old mentor psychic friend. I always just kind of bibliomance this thing and just flip it, boom. And this week, the phrase that I opened up on is mass elemental. So, mass elemental.
Wow.
A mass elemental is a large, unbroken thought form hovering over the heads of a gathering of people that displays unity of interest and emotion. Each member contributes to the thought form, making it grow as the meeting progresses. As long as the attention of the majority is centered on this size and intelligence, it physically influences the feelings and reasoning of each individual participating. Members are capable of individual behavior that would be impossible on their own. This thought form is only kept alive by the unity of purpose and will dissipate when the crowd disbands. As members leave the gathering, the elemental no longer has the influence over them. There's a secondary thing here that there are two more things it could also mean is an individual born crippled could receive the faith and change of attitude in a religious meeting and become instantaneously healed by a mass elemental, or young people disregard their privacy and make love openly at festivals creating mass elementals. So there's a little bit of what we got from this week's book. So mass elementals.
So it's kind of like, Stefan, I know you went to a couple with me as well. We used to go to those church camps in high school, and you get a bunch of people in a room and they're all singing and dancing and
I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, so I absolutely.
Oh yeah, you did.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then on top of that, my mother would take us visiting churches on the day that we didn't go to church. I'm like, really? Yeah. Can I have a weekend?
We were at church like every night of the week.
Oh, man. It sounds like your mom was Aunt Esther from Sanford and Son.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty much. Yep. That's my family. That is my family.
I grew up Catholic, so we tried not to go. But I went to Catholic school, so we went a couple days a week. But then when I moved to Kentucky, I became a Southern Baptist when I met Josh.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So all of that, kind of talking about that elemental thing, it's that, that all that positive energy kind of gets gathered up as like a big cloud, and then everybody feeds off of it.
Yeah.
But it made me have the thought is that elemental thing, is it just a collection and reaction to that energy? Or does it have some intelligence, you think?
I would say in regards to what they're speaking of, I'm going to say no, it's not intelligence. I would say the intelligence is gathered from the people, because it seems to be created through the thought processes of the people.
Gotcha.
So in my opinion, it almost seems almost like a puppet.
So whatever the mass intention is, that's the intention of the elemental.
Correct.
Yes. Yep. I agree also.
Yeah, and it seems like they halfway mentioned that that it could, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say possess, that's not the right word, but kind of enter someone, and that person could take on personalities of the other people there, or the new collected personality that is the mass elemental.
Well, something I've talked to you about before, I don't remember if I've ever talked about on the show before, is the whole concept of the power of prayer is really just the power of positive intention.
Oh, for sure.
So,
yes.
So if you've got all that positive intention and somebody is in fact ill or whatever, I could see where that could be used as like a tool or a mechanism for that person to heal themselves more rapidly than just on their own.
Well, and that's why so much of this miraculous healing doesn't just happen in the Christian faith. It happens all over the world in different things, because it's the power of thought. I am a big believer that we can manifest through the energy of the universe, and that energy of the universe is God, is that, and you've got a big group of people doing it. Absolutely, I think you can find change for sure.
Yep. Yep, I absolutely agree with everything you said. Yes, that's amazing.
So, very, very interesting. So, but so that's our psychic word phrase for the week. I don't think we've actually had a word yet. It's been phrases this whole time.
That's pretty cool, though. That's pretty cool. And because for me, I have a lot of experiences and I know a lot of things, but it's kind of like, what do you call that? Yeah. So for me, that honestly was like, that's what you call it.
This book is crazy, but you can tell it's old because they back then in '86 they didn't call it EVP, electric voice phenomenon. In here it's called like taped voice phenomenon.
Wow, that's funny. Yeah,
stuff like that.
Stuff.
I guess that's better than scribed voice phenomenon. So.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that was just called Nostradamus.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move right into some spooky news. All right. So for this week, I've got some great, fun, spooky news, which is fun for me because I've been watching this show called Outlander, and it takes place in Scotland. But we've got us another Loch Ness Monster sighting, And this comes from invernesscourier.co.uk. So this is the newspaper in Inverness, which is near Loch Ness. And the headline reads, Loch Ness Monster Register Logs Second Sighting of 2020. So there's already been 2. And it says, this year's second sighting of the Loch Ness Monster was made the other day. Longtime webcam watcher Ian oh boy, this is Gaelic. I don't even know if I can do this. Ian O'Faugagan, sorry, Ian, caught a video of something unexplained at 8:11 a.m. He also logged a sighting on January 18th this year. Oh, he's the second one, too.
Wait a minute.
Both have been recorded on the official Loch Ness Monster Sightings Register. Yesterday's sighting was described on the register as, he explained that it took a few seconds before the object appeared to show and that there was nothing on the surface of the water beforehand. It appears very low compared to the surface water, throwing up white foam going in and out of the loch, all of which was captured on the Loch Ness Live cam. There are times in the video when it's completely submerged and then it's back up again. The video footage lasted 1 minute and 38 seconds. And I've watched the video, and it looks like pretty much every Loch Ness Monster video. So
Right.
could be, could not be. But we haven't had Nessie in the news in a while. And actually in a number of different news sources.
Well,
so very interesting.
and that's because that guy found the carcass. Remember, that was a story back.
Oh, yeah, that they thought that was the carcass of the Loch Ness Monster that they found, right?
It's been like skeleton. Back around January or February, this guy found a carcass close to Loch Ness, and so they thought that was actually the Loch Ness Monster's like body was,
Oh,
decaying.
wow. Oh, my gosh.
Who knows, though? Who knows?
But, I mean, could have another one. Could have babies,
Yeah,
you
I mean, I can't imagine that if it is like a plesiosaurus or whatever they think it would be, that it's like immortal. Like it's the Methuselah of dinosaurs, right?
right. That's funny.
I've got one more news story. This one comes from news.com.australia. It says NASA explains mysterious sailing stones that move around Death Valley on their own. NASA has chosen an image of a Death Valley sailing stone for its astronomy picture of the day. The mysterious stones have baffled scientists for years as they seemingly moved on their own with no obvious explanation. Sailing stones are also known as sliding rocks. They baffle geologists because they move across the desert and leave long tracks without human or animal intervention. The dry lake of Racetrack Playa in California's Death Valley is very famous for them. Ice, wind, and even bacteria were suspected of causing the heavy rocks to move, as scientists have studied the stones and the long trails they leave behind. NASA appears to have selected photographer Keith Burke's image of a sailing stone, as it also features the Milky Way-filled sky. NASA explained alongside the image, said, how did this big rock end up on this strange terrain? And let's see here. There's a dried lake bed, and it exists that is almost perfectly flat, with the odd exception of some very large stone that tend to move on their own. They believe that they may be caused by mud flowing, drying, and cracking after heavy rain. However, recently, a scientific hypothesis that is viable has been given to explain how these have ended up near the middle of such a flat surface. Unfortunately, as frequently happens in science, a seemingly surreal problem ends up having a relatively mundane solution. According to the scientists, says it turns out that in winter, thin ice sheets form, and winds push ice sections laden with heavy rocks across the temporarily slick playa when sunlight melts the ice. So there you have it, people. Ice and wind seems to have solved the mystery of the sailing rocks.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's like was it Indiana is so flat because of the glaciers.
Yeah.
That came down and just eroded things away. And so, I mean, ice could definitely move a lot of things. So
yeah, it's interesting because I've seen time-lapse videos of those rocks before, and it's so creepy to just see them moving on their own.
Right. I can imagine. Ugh.
is really, really creepy. I don't buy it because it happens in the summer too, so I don't buy it. But whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think they're tiny little UFOs manned by tiny little aliens.
It's the alien guys from Batteries Not Included. That's what it is.
Exactly. It's tiny little Jawas moving around looking for desert.
Yeah. Like, really? Right. Come on.
Maybe it's a crab, and that's a shell.
Yeah, exactly. And then, as soon as like people show up, it gets scared and burrows.
Yeah, right.
Right. That is so funny.
I don't know. So yeah, that's our spooky news for this week. The second one wasn't super spooky, but I thought it was funny. Yeah. Josh, let's go ahead and move into our UFO sighting of the week. All right, Josh, what do we got this week?
Yeah, so this comes from, which I don't know that I'm pronouncing this right, but Haarlem, North Holland.
North Holland?
It's Haarlem.
Oh, so different Harlem.
Yeah.
Right.
But still, interesting that, because a lot of the places in North America are named for places in Europe and other places. So it's interesting that there will be a Haarlem somewhere else.
Yeah, anyways. You better believe I'm looking it up.
So this actually hits really close to home on the one that we talked about a few weeks ago. So this actually happened on Sunday.
Okay, hold your thought, because you are correct. It is indeed named after the city of Haarlem in the Netherlands.
Oh,
so
wow.
Haarlem, New York was originally a Dutch village formalized in 1658 and is named after the city of Haarlem in the Netherlands. So you are correct, Josh.
Shut your mouth.
Yep.
I love information. I love knowledge. I love learning. It
is named after a group of the whitest, blondest ass people you will ever meet in your life.
Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
Right. So this comes from. So this was reported on Sunday, April 19th, in the Netherlands, and so it took place for about 30 minutes. So here it was.
I was watching the stars when suddenly lights came from the east. Looked like a satellite at first, but it went quite fast, and then more were coming. The third object was slowly passing the second object, while the objects that followed flew in a straight line, while pretty much following the same distance. When I saw this, I called a friend who lives a couple kilometers away. He saw it too. A long line of objects, about 10 in a row from horizon to horizon, while a new one came up every 20 seconds. A few exceptions, there were two objects that flew next to each other or have irregular distancing. I estimate that I have seen between 100 and 200 objects altogether. I also saw a bigger object with flashing lights similar to an airplane, but a bit different and flying the exact same line as the others. A similar big object flew back to watch. It was quite hypnotizing to watch. Since I can't think of a common explanation, more than 100 objects flying in a straight line, who does that? I noticed that almost all objects looked like a bright light in the sky, not like outboard lighting of an airplane. Why would a military operation be so visible? Unanswered questions.
Wow.
Did you do any research?
I did not, but I did actually just got a notification when I was sitting down to plug in and dial in that so we've talked about it before, the Starlink lights from Elon Musk, that there are like 6 sets that are orbiting around, and so so a lot of these UFO sightings are being attributed to those Starlink lights. But we've talked about it before, that it could be that UFOs are mimicking the Starlink lights because
that's what we saw, because according to the time and everything, what we saw was 5-10 minutes after it was supposed to have had passed,
Right.
But they looked very similar.
Right. And so because they're so close to the Starlink sightings, people just assume, you're just seeing the Starlink stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, when they are ready to present themselves, that's going to happen, and they're going to make it known. I honestly feel like there are things that are changing. That, that's why this Space Force that Trump has created, as I have told my followers, it's nothing to laugh about or call them crazy. This is real. Yeah. I've had a dream with my so usually my dreams always there's something that is information given. So I say this thing. I say, wait till these people who are like anti-gay and all that. Wait till they meet the alien. They're gonna fall out and have a heart attack. Okay, I swear, because it's gonna. This is just something that eventually is going to happen. It's just. It's a matter of time. So that's my take on it. Whether it's real or not, the individual sightings, that's just the information. Like as far as what I know, as far as aliens, and there are some. I have seen them. They're very little and they're playful. They're almost like children. That come here already. So we just can't see them. So it's a lot of that we can't see stuff going on.
I see them in their little rock ships in the desert. That's
Well, see, we've actually talked a lot about that recently. That's one of the kind of the questions that I've been asking is, are they coming, and do they have technology where they can basically walk amongst us but stay hidden from us?
Yes, because in my readings, I can remote view. I can do some crazy stuff, okay? So once I flip that switch to where I can see what people can't, I've seen the little boogers that they like to steal fruit, things like that. And I asked the person that I was doing the reading for, does some of your fruit come up missing? Does some of your stuff, And then I went on to tell her why. But so there are also other dimensions.
Yes.
Yeah. So
sometimes I've seen things in those other dimensions. Also, I'll be driving down the street and see something. So it's just they're definitely there. You know what I mean? We just haven't seen them.
Yeah, that fits some of the sightings, especially in Kentucky. I mean, you look at the Kelly Hopkinsville, what they called the Kentucky Goblins back in the 50s, the Loveland Frogs up in Cincinnati, the Hellier sighting. A lot of those are those smaller, childlike size entities.
I haven't heard about those before.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked about the Kentucky Goblins on here at least twice. And the Hellier documentary on Amazon talks about it a little bit, and then gets into all of the stuff that's happening in Hellier and Somerset.
See, I'm just gonna have to binge watch y'all, and because you're like it's just the correlation between you guys and my thoughts and just how I am. It's very similar, I'm about the truth, and that's it. Because we need to know whether it's to defend ourselves mentally, spiritually, whatever it is, we need to know.
You'd really someone we interviewed a few weeks back, Andrea Perrin. If you've ever seen the movie The Conjuring, that movie's about her family, and she's the oldest daughter in that.
Wow.
She is an absolutely amazing person, and she writes a lot of new age type books and things like that, and she lot of things you're saying, she's saying very similar too, about how we hit a new age.
Wow.
And she's absolutely phenomenal. And if you get a chance, I would highly recommend listening to our interview with her. I think you'll go, holy crap, yeah, that's stuff I've been saying.
Absolutely, yes.
She's
absolutely.
phenomenal. I mean, she's absolutely amazing. But she helped really push our thoughts in that direction a lot more.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So,
fine.
Stefan, you wanted to jump into a little bit of creepy catch-up? Because I have one.
Oh, sorry. I was like, oh, man, I'm still lost in this. But, yeah, let me wrap up with the UFO sighting and say, yeah, it sucks because there's even the skeptic part in me that's going, God, what if it was Starlink, you know? But
right.
The other side of it was that bigger thing that he saw was different.
Right.
You know, so which is the same with us. We saw two different things, plus we saw the International Space Station.
Yeah.
So we had three different things to kind of compare. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna get off of that.
Wow.
Let's move into some creepy catch up.
Creepy catch-up. Creepy catch-up. Creepy catch-up. Y'all, it's creepy.
So yeah, creepy catch up. We're kind of, if this past week, if there's anything creepy that's happened to us or paranormal, if we've seen anything or felt anything or crazy ass dreams, this is where it's at. So Josh, did you want to go first? Because you seem pretty excited.
Yeah. So I'm actually disappointed because I've been so swamped and tired from work.
Yes, you
that
have.
I really haven't had anything happen. And I'm like, and I'm missing it. I really am. I'm like, I'm where's my crazy ass dreams that like give me all kinds of weird theories that I talk about on the podcast. So, the other day I was putting together a swing set for my kids, and I like dropped a tool and I leaned down to get it, and when I raised back up, I clocked my head on the bottom of the swing set thing, and it hurt like a mother. But anyways, when I did it, I heard a woman laugh at me, and I thought it was my wife, to be honest, because I looked
she
up
would.
at the yeah, she would she'd say, "Are you okay?" But she'd laugh too. So let's
Right.
So I looked up at the back door to see if she was standing there, and she wasn't. And so yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was like none of my neighbors were out, and even if they were, like my yard's kind of secluded where you can't really see back there unless you're back there. So yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
They will let you hear them. They give you as much as they want you to have, and that's honestly the truth. And if at that moment there was someone around you that, you know, was maybe spending time with you, a relative, that, you know, that might have been her way of letting you know, or even just a random spirit, you know, but it's pretty crazy you mentioned a woman, because before I even talked with you guys, I kept getting kind of this heavyset woman that kept coming to me. So I said, well, I guess maybe it has to do with one of them. I'm not sure, but for you to kind of bring that up as your story, that kind of makes me want to look into it a little more. You know, because they do stuff like that to get your attention, or, you know, to just make a note, hey, I'm here, you know, to let you know that there's some creepy around you. You know, they're always with us. They watch over us so much.
Now, Josh, did it feel malicious at all? Because I don't feel like it did, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, because Josh we've both experienced something along the edge of it. He's got woods at the edge of his back, and we both felt some sort of entity or creature back there. And I didn't know if that might be related, but that always feels a little more malicious. It doesn't.
Yeah, it seems to be that always, whenever I get that feeling, or even that night you said you saw something in the backyard, it was at nighttime. It seems like most of that stuff really comes out more at night. And
sometimes that woman, she may be there to kind of oversee or protect you from whatever, you know, is out there. That's what they do, you know. So. Aww.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm gonna say something. I'm really Stefan and I are both on a journey right now.
Yeah, big spiritual paranormal journey.
and
Aww.
so the dry spell because of work is really like I feel like I stopped off at a way station and I just can't get back into it. So
And you will. I just quit my job. Okay, they forced me to quit my job. They forced me to cuss out my manager and quit my job because it was time for me to move on. Yeah. And if I had honestly, I wasn't supposed to be there anymore. They took me out of the business. I worked at JCPenney. They took me out of a business that is now completely shut down. I would have been standing in line for unemployment. I've been doing my work for free for 4 years. I have so many people on my wait list. They were begging me, just start charging so that you can quit your job and do this full time, you know? So one day I sat down in November and I just decided, I said, this is what I'm going to do. And so you will have those periods, but when it feels dry like that, it's because number one, if you're overloading, they're going to make you rest. Yep. They're not going to, you know, so, and also if you're out of balance, if you're unhappy about that situation, that's going to keep it shut down even more too. So you have to do what makes your heart happy.
Yeah,
you know,
I know Miss B because I worked at JCPenney a couple years ago, and
my God,
I hated it. I had a nervous breakdown. That's when I said I got to get on antidepressants, and so I quit. My God,
yeah,
I left, man. So
I worked in returns, and I was the best one. I loved it back there. Let me tell you how many readings I did back there on random customers.
Yep.
That will walk up. No, and then there's a lady that got killed in the parking lot at the Mont St. Matthews.
That's the one I worked at, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was at. Oh my gosh, that's too funny that you worked there too.
Yep.
But no, a month after I started working there, right a couple days before her anniversary, she let me know that she was there.
Wow.
She let me know, and I just started getting names of employees I didn't even know, and they would go and get the employee and bring them to me. It was crazy at JC. It was crazy at Penny. Just all the experiences. Oh my God, that is funny.
Well, I once shopped at that JCPenney. Does that count?
Oh my God. Oh, I want to ask you a name so bad if you know somebody.
I don't even know. I worked there probably 2013 or 14, maybe.
Well, I was probably gone. I only stayed there about a year. I had like my little year anniversary, and that was it.
Yeah.
I think I was left shortly after that. But
I wasn't there very long either.
Right. Oh Lord.
And I love me some JCPenney because I'm big and tall, so they got the best big and tall. But
yes.
That toilet paper be like gross.
No, you want to hear a funny story? I brought my own Charmin. I decorated the whole break room with pictures and pillows. I put a Keurig up there. When I quit, I cussed the HR manager out, and I quit, and I got my Keurig with the cord hanging, and I walked out. But I swear, I brought my rolls of Charmin, and somebody stole them. I was like, who steals from a psychic? They must not know that I can look and see who did it.
Yeah, I always hated it. It was like the same paper they stuffed the shoes with. It was just...
Oh, God, I brought my own Charmin. I swear I did. That is too funny.
Oh, well, we'll quit talking about JCPenney, and I'll tell y'all my creepy story, which really, it wasn't me at first, so I got two. One's funny. They're both about my dog. So my dog is not much of a barker. He's a whiner, and he's half pug, half Shar-Pei, and sometimes he'll roof, if somebody's at the door, but that's about it. Well, the other day, Sarah and I are working because we're both working at home, and all of a sudden we hear him in the back living room barking like roo, 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 right? And we're like, who is that? Like because it didn't even sound like him. Because we've had him 2 years. I've never heard that.
Right.
And so we're like, okay. And she goes, I think that was Kenobi. I think that came from the living room. I'm like, oh, well, that's weird. He must be mad at something outside or whatever. So we just let it go. So later that night, we're sitting in the living room, and all of a sudden, his hair stands up on the back of his back and his neck, and he jumps off the couch and then just looks up at the ceiling and starts barking, and then like moves to the left as like he's following something moving and starts barking at it with that crazy bark that I've never heard before. So of course, me and Sarah both immediately get the willies, and of course me, who is normally shielded, all of a sudden my shield's dropping. I'm like, oh, what's happening? And I could feel something in there too, and it was like I could almost see like the aura of this thing that was moving, whatever it was. It was crazy.
Was there any temperature change at all?
Oh yeah, it got cold. Then
that means it was negative, and it was a negative entity.
Well, Stefan, you've had a lot about your night hags, and I've posed the question of, are they in your mind, or are you really getting visiting by things and you just happen to be able to see them, Yeah.
You are getting visited because you guys are taking this journey. You are going to get spiritual attacks, okay? And they're going to creep around. They're going to try to start fights with your family, your friends. I mean, whoever's closest to you, they're going to try to use, that's why it's important for your spouse to be spiritually aware and protected. Okay.
I talked to her, and my sister does too. I've been dealing with this stuff my whole life, and so because they know that eventually you were going to come to the truth, and they were trying to scare you from it.
Yep, that's what they did to me.
It was crazy watching him like that, man. Wow. But here's the funny thing with the dog, though. So a number of episodes ago, my wife and I sold our house in Indiana because we're going to be moving to Phoenix this fall. And so we're staying at her parents' house while they're snowbirding. And so when we moved in, her mom's a big Trekkie like me, and she has this big cardboard cutout of Data from Star Trek The Next Generation, and she hid it in the bathroom, and it scared the crap out of me when I opened the door because I thought it was a ghost or somebody in there. It gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, my God.
Well, anyways, we cleaned out the back room, and I was like, oh, that's where I had forgotten we put Data back there. So I put Data out in the living room so that we could we're putting all the stuff we're going to take to the basement into the living room. They have like a front living room. And so I put that out there, and it's like, it's facing the door, but it's all the way against the wall next to the piano. Well, yesterday, Kenobi, is at the door looking out like he normally does. He turns around, and then all of a sudden his hair creeps back up, and he starts that barking again, but he's barking at Data. He got so scared, and then he ran so hard past Data that he hit the bottom of the cardboard cutout, and almost he's so scared of that cardboard cutout. I laughed so hard. I said, well, it ain't just me.
Right. And that's it. I have my first dog ever because I've always had cats around. Mm-hmm. And so we finally got a dog, and I was curious to see if they were as alert as cats were. And they are. Mm-hmm. They are. So
we got two cats too. They're always looking at stuff.
We do too. We have two cats also, and a dog, and a bird, and a guinea pig.
That's like I told our friend, if you ever want to know if you have anything in your house, just get a cat.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
My boy cat, he's a talker too. And so just in the middle of the night, you hear him like, meow, meow.
Oh yeah. Our boy cat is the same way. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never heard a man talk so much.
I know. And he's got the ugliest meow, man.
Right. Right. Well, I had one thing happen to me, and usually it's just someone letting me know that they're there, mm-hmm. or, things like that. But I went to let my dog out to use the bathroom. I had gotten up and I went to let my dog out to use the bathroom. And our basement back door, we just opened it. it doesn't swing or anything. It's just a regular door, and I just opened it and I left it open. We don't have a screen or anything. It's just kind of open. Nice, pretty day. Well, I went to close it, and the whole complete lock was turned. The deadbolt was turned to where I couldn't even close the door.
Wow.
Huh.
Right. So I can always feel if it's a positive or a negative thing. So usually that's just, kind of something of like, hey, I'm here trying to get my attention type of thing. So, but I invite them to my house. They have to stay, they can't come in my bedroom, but I do allow positive energies that need my help because I work on a lot of murders and missing people. I allow them to come into my home, as long as they have good intentions. So.
Yep, I do too. I'm pagan and Wiccan, and so I create a lot of sacred space that, they know. And then
I don't know what I am. I don't even know what I am.
Oh, I found mine.
Well, it's I just know that I was raised in the church, and parts of that is true. I found that parts of it is, but it's just misunderstood in a lot of ways.
Same. I worship a lot of different things. I kind of say Wicca as the most, but I'm Buddhist and Christian and other things too. The term that we tend to use is eclectic. So eclectic is kind of a good term. It kind of sums up, hey, I'm not really one thing. I kind of am a multitude of many things, and I am on my own path. I am my own path. I told Josh this 100 times that if you want to scare me from my neighborhood, don't burn a cross in my front yard, burn a question mark. So, because I'm always seeking answers, and my spirituality evolves constantly.
Yeah, I would say that I am. So I would say that I accept that all of these things exist, but none of them are intended to be worshipped. That the only thing that you should worship is the power of the human of the human spirit. Yeah. And so I'm what Stefan helped me understand a couple of years back. I'm what you would call a humanist. So I believe that humans can do everything that we need to do. We don't need a god or anything else to help us do it. Humans can do it.
Yeah.
We have the power inside us.
Yep. See, both of y'all, listen, this is what it is, okay? Because I got so mad, I demanded to be in, whoever the Most High is or whoever claims that position. I demanded to be in the presence of them. So I found myself in the presence of them. And it is a male. It is at least what they showed me was more of a male form. And it's the same. I could not look. So let me tell you, he does not do anything. And you're absolutely right. That's why I say you're right. We as humans, he has given us every single thing we need. We don't. Our ancestors help us out to keep us on our life path, to keep us going in the right direction. They try to give us information, things like that. But you are absolutely right.
I think the Native Americans had it right, for sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, though. We as humans, so it's a little bit of each kind of, so that's why I say it's.
Yeah, so like I said, I would be able to accept that there's something greater than me in the universe. I'm not so full of hubris that I would say that humanity is the greatest thing in the universe. But I would say that as our capacity to do things, we are infantile.
Yeah.
As to what the human spirit and what the brain
for sure
can do.
Look at the people out there with gifts like you. And my sister, and even a little bit like myself, there's so many people that haven't even opened themselves yet to the power that they have. And it's and then what else are we even capable of? Those of us that have gifts, are we even capable of 10, 15, 20 times the stuff that we do? So,
I saw my first spirit at 5 years old. If I had someone to explain to me or to mentor me or, just to acknowledge that, it is no telling how far I would be right now.
I've said the same thing, because I think I said I was 7 or 8 when I first saw mine. And I went to school. I was in Catholic school, and Sister Mary Patrick, I told her about it. She told me not to tell anybody, and she told me that it was my guardian angel. And turns out years later, it was my aunt. I found out from my medium friend, Barbara Jordan, who passed away. She was the one that was just like, hey, do you have an Aunt Kathy? You know, she said to tell you that was her, because I made eye contact with her and everything. And she had passed away before I was born. So
I think we limit ourselves, and even people who maybe have gifts like you two, and I don't know that I have one, but I'd be cool if I did. But but even the people who have gifts still, because of society and all of that stuff, still kind of limit themselves a little bit as to what they are willing to accept.
We all have it. We all have it.
I agree.
We all have it.
And I'm going to have you hold that thought so we can go ahead and jump right into the interview.
Okay, cool.
All right, so I just wanted to, so I had a segue in there, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. You know, I think that we all have it, you know, and man, religion and society has really put a damper on that. And a lot of that comes from those that want to have power that don't, you know, making you feel like you shouldn't, you know,
well, and you know, something we talked about, I think it was last week with the Mysterious J, was that psychic word from last week, or the phrase even, with that we age and die because we have accepted that is our fate.
Yes.
And so if we are able to grow and think beyond the limitations that we place in front of ourselves, can we become so much more than what we were anticipated to be?
Yep.
I mean, I agree. Yes. I mean, if we take the Bible as gospel, ha ha, pun intended, you look at those early humans that lived 800-900 years, right?
Yes.
And at that point, they were just like, God, take me up, right? And so,
right.
And maybe, you know, that is the case, that at that point, you know, you saw like Adam and Eve, who, let's say they chose to die. I do not believe in creation, but I'm just saying here. Let's say you got Adam and Eve. You know, first of all, you see Abel get killed. Holy shit, there's death. What the hell is death? Did God warn them about death? We don't know.
Right.
Then Adam and Eve die. Did they choose to die? And if they see that, did their kids and their offspring go, oh, that's something we're supposed to do?
Right.
You know?
Exactly. See, no, it was something that, it was a process that was understood, and eventually we whatever happened, we got away from that the understanding of that process, because we actually all have abilities. We can all do it. It's our natural built-in, I call it like our natural built-in telephone line to our ancestors. But, you know, of course, if you weren't taught that as a child, you know, we learned everything we were taught at, you know, like starting in kindergarten, all the way up, we learned everything. So therefore we grew. Speaking to what you were talking about, growing, I'm going to tell you, since I've been doing my work, it feels like when I get sick, I feel like the more I help people, I heal myself. I also feel like I'm not aging. I don't know why that's in my head, but I don't feel like I'm aging correctly. Like, I'm not going as fast as other people. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I
don't feel like I'm aging.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm aging as fast as other people.
It's interesting. Go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say, I'll be 42 this year, and I still have a thick head of like non-gray hair, and
right.
And a lot of that might be stress, and maybe I deal with stress differently than other people. I don't know, but it just does feel like that. If I look at peers who are close to my age,
yes,
man, they're just, you know, they look like they're 50.
Agreed.
You know?
Agreed. And I agree with the healing. I do Reiki myself, and so I'm a healer. And it's interesting because part of what Reiki does that you learn when you learn Reiki is that as you heal, you also heal yourself. Because we, as people who connect with energy and connect with spirit, we can sometimes, if we don't know what's going on, we can accidentally take that from them and make it our own. So a lot of psychic healers and things like that, in the very early stages, they find them sick after being around certain people, yet, they weren't in Yeah, because they're picking up either their spiritual sickness or their physical sickness without even being next to them.
Oh, well, listen, I can medically diagnose people. I've done it with doctors up at U of L.
Yeah.
That couldn't believe that I could do it. But I was told if I can find sickness in people, that I can also heal them. I'm not sure how true that is, but I don't know much about it, but I just kind of jumped in and was helping with whatever. So when I would go to help someone who was sick, I would find myself the next day feeling just horribly bad, So I went in with my eyes closed. Well, I didn't really know what I was doing, so but you're right about that.
They get into that and they don't know. And my sister for years, she's been able to speak to spirits that have passed on since she was a child. And for the longest time, she was so afraid to say anything, because she thought she'd be found crazy. And she ended up finding a therapist that also shared the gift. And so she was able to finally feel free enough to talk about it and things like that.
Good for her.
But it was overwhelming, as any gifts can be in the beginning, especially if you have a family that is kind of anti that type of thing.
Oh yeah, I have conversations with some of my old church members still. I have to block them on Facebook. It's ridiculous. For me, my friends, they knew growing up with me as a teenager. Leaving the mall, I would tell them, put your seatbelt on.
Yep.
We never wore a seatbelt. We would get in a wreck. Things like that. So my friends knew, but I didn't. I didn't know. So, it took my brother passing, and I asked for it back, whatever it was. And at 40 years old, that's how long of a gap it was. I saw my second spirit from 5 years old to 40 years old. Yeah. So
it's like... It's, back in, Stefan, when did we do the investigation at the Bardstown?
September, October, I think.
Yeah. So that was when I had one of my biggest experiences that I've ever had. And that was, we were working with that spirit, Mary, I think was her name. And we were trying to help her, cross over. And I was holding the dowsing rod. And I just had this insane, intense wave of energy rush over me, and the dowsing rods are pointing right at me, and I'm freaking out because I don't know what the hell's going on. And it's
so green. I miss it.
Yeah. So it's you talk about it though. So here I was doing something of which I had no expectation or understanding, but I was jumping in feet first. It's just
right. Yeah, and it's because it's naturally in you to do that. And for me, I just feel like there's a level, yes, I might feel the effects of certain things, but I do have a level of protection that I have faith in. So when I do jump into things like that, I kind of just hold on to that faith,
Well, let's talk a little bit about everything. I'm curious to know about your origin story, so to speak. Tell us a little bit about you and kind of where you came from and how this all came about for you and how you made your transition into saying, screw this is me. How you came out of the closet, so to speak.
Yeah, no, the post that I made, that is exactly what I said, because that's the way I felt. I felt like I was coming out of the closet because I grew up in a church that definitely did not believe in that. My mom, I knew she had abilities, but she was a Christian, so it went against what she had been taught also. My mom, from Mississippi. She was born and raised in Mississippi. She became a Seventh-day Adventist when she was 14 at one of those camp meeting things, out in the country. Which crazy thing is, later on, when she turned 70, she converted to being a Mormon.
Wow.
Right, but Mormons believe in the spirit world.
Yes, they do.
So I really think that, because she told me about seeing different spirits, but you have to remember, this religion she committed to doesn't believe in that stuff. Mm-hmm. So here she finds these people, so I really believe that's why she, but I was born and raised right here in the West End on Hazel and Broadway. Went to Emma L. Menace School. It's kind of like a historic Black school, I guess you could say, because it was like the only one back then that was a private school. So I went to school with like Muhammad Ali's family and people like that. Yeah. A lot of them went there. Just, some of the Black people that had money, so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But at 5 years old, okay, so let me start here. Mm-hmm. Our religion on Friday nights, we bring in the Sabbath. So we would have like our worship in the living room every Friday night, and then Saturday night to close out the Sabbath. So we had just finished a little, service one Friday night, and everyone had gone upstairs, and I saw a spirit. It was a white man sitting in my mom's dining room. So, but I realize now that it was actually one of my relatives, because my father was white.
Interesting.
So, later years, I didn't have contact with my father at all. I connected to my brother, his son, about 7 years ago. So I realized then that it was my relatives from that side of my family. But that's pretty much, I grew up there, went to Wagner High School, graduated from there, went to JCC, went to National College a little bit. I just could never find my niche. I studied two different things. Could never figure it out because that wasn't my purpose.
Yeah.
You get caught up into what society says that we should be, versus what we can be, right? So
absolutely. So this is the farthest thing from my mind. I know things ahead of time. I have feelings and things like that, but I just blew it to the side. I just figured, it's no big deal. Until, let's see, my brother, he passed from cancer. And listen to this. He passed on 12/12/12. Okay. Doesn't get any more perfect than that, does it?
Yeah.
Kind of that meant to be type, that's for us to know that this was supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. After he passed, I literally was having a very emotional moment, and I screamed out whatever I saw when I was little, bring it back so I can talk to my brother. And about a month later, my fiance's boss at GE passed away. And he was talking about him. We were driving in the car, and he was talking about him. And I saw this guy sitting in the back seat. So I knew then it had come back. And I didn't care if my boyfriend thought I was crazy. I didn't care. I went on and told him what I saw and described him. But the thing is that I described his boss to a T, and I'd never seen him before. So he definitely believed, what I was saying. But that was how it all started. And that was when I was, I'm 45 now. So that was almost 5 years ago. Wow. Here we are.
I think it's interesting because so I've said I'm on this journey. Stefan's on this journey with me. And you talk about your spouse being open or protected. And so my wife is very much a skeptical individual. And so I think, though, that sometimes that she's skeptical because it scares her to think that it could be true.
Yes, you just defined
The
my
whole public.
life. Yeah, well, yeah, the
Right.
whole public. Amen, for sure.
Yep. That's all it is. And, you know, I tell people that come at me, it's fear. And that is exactly what the negative spirits want. They don't want us to learn or be educated because they want to cause drama, because they don't want to cross over. It's not God that's telling us we can cross over. We have to reflect on our wrong and admit that what we did. You know what I mean? And then we cross over.
So we keep ourselves here because we're unwilling to accept or admit that what we did was incorrect.
Yes, pridefulness, things like that. But it's kind of God's way of or the Most High's way of weeding out the bad ones, if you think about it, because until they change or do make that change, you know what I mean? They're going to stay in the in between. Yeah. They're gonna stay stuck there. So kind of
makes you wonder if that's where the idea of purgatory came from.
Exactly, that's what it is. We just have it all confused. Like
because
you know what I mean?
Everybody wants to put their already made religious tenets on something else as a way to help justify it for them.
Right. And I'm like, you're right, but you're not completely right. You know,
yeah,
it's
like one of the books we're reading, The Eighth Tower, John Keel, he talks about how UFO sightings, the way that they were described and the things that happened to people and when they had contact and things like that are very, very, very similar to the rash of fairy sightings in the 17 and 1800s in England. And that, you know, that then that's how they were able to make sense of it, was to say that it was fairies. But I mean, similar things, the conjunctivitis, you know, getting stolen away, the abduction. I mean, you could get taken by the fairies, right? I mean, all of these things, if you take out fairy and put aliens or UFO, it's almost identical. And there are other stories from other cultures that are similar.
I do know that there are. You know how you were speaking about, like, I think your dog looking up in the corner in the ceiling?
Yeah.
That is where that's where the negative things, they're like small shadows. And they go from home to home trying to start fights and arguments between people. Like, that's just what they do. But that's where you will see them, is up in the corners. And real evil, you can see with the lights off in the dark. You'll be able to. Oh yeah,
that Vanta Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, that a lot of times my night hags are like that. It's that Vanta Black with red eyes. And
yeah. Okay. Yep. That's it. Yeah. So I've gotten to the point now to where at first when my fiance wasn't that protected, like we've gotten to the point now, I will get an alert like before we have an argument. I swear, that's like, you know, but then it's kind of like once he got on board, everything just kind of started getting better, you know?
Yes, the same thing with my wife and I. Like, you know, like she was always cool with the improv comedy aspect thing, but, you know, the other side of things was a little different. She's atheist and, you know, but then now it's like she just can't help it. And like Josh said, it's like I've come to realize that she didn't want to believe because it scared the hell out of her.
Right.
And that's what it was.
I swear, like these big scary faces and things, my spirit guide showed me and taught me that a lot of times it's just spirits. And, you know, once we're a spirit, we can make ourselves appear as whatever, right? So a lot of times it could just be a spirit trying to scare the shit out, you know.
Well, even then, Josh said one time to me, he's like, just because a spirit is scary looking doesn't mean it's mean. You know, just because something's ugly don't mean it's mean.
That's true. That is true, because a lot of times I come to find out there was a spirit who was trying to do that at another house I lived in, and come to find out, you know, he wasn't mean.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, and I was just like, really? let me help you, you know.
Do a spiritual makeover.
Right.
Well, and one of the things that I've talked about before, I think Steph, we talked a little bit about it on our Unhinged episode. One of the Unhinged episodes is spirits are just energy, right? And so they present themselves to you however you're most willing to accept their form.
Right.
So how I see, like, if there was a spirit energy in a room with the three of us, we could all see it differently,
yeah,
because of how it's presenting itself to us that we're willing to accept.
Right. Because I don't like seeing blood. So since I do at work a lot of murders, they make it to where I don't see that. It just looks wet, you know.
Yeah.
But they don't give me that visual to where it's that detailed. You know what I mean? So yep, that's true.
And so I'd like to talk a little bit about that. So I know you've said that a couple times throughout the episode so far, that you've got to work with murders and things like that. Could we expand a little bit on that and talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
So how did that come about? And is there anything like interesting you could tell us without, you know, saying who people are? Well, you know, I'm HIPAA. That's fine.
Well, no, because I mean, it's kind of pretty much out there already. But like, you know, you guys mentioned going to Bardstown. I had a conference call with some of the Bardstown police and some of the federal agents that came in to kind of help, you know, see what was going on. And I gave them the information that I had discussed with Sherry, Crystal Rogers' mom.
I was about to ask if that was Crystal Rogers. That was literally when I asked that, because I've been listening to some podcasts about that.
Oh, I'm crazy. I went out to the house and everything. I did. I was like, Sherry, what's the address? I'm passing through. All of a sudden, she said, well, be careful. But you know, and I've been at murder scenes where, you know, the killers have pulled up. But as soon as they pulled up, I got sick. I got nauseated, and I walked all the way across the street before I even knew who it was. So, you know, things like that. But yeah, the case, I know you've heard of Bryce Rhodes.
Yep.
I'm very close friends with Marie, the son's mom, and also I'm related to Chris, who he killed first.
Wow.
So, yeah. But I just found myself in these situations where things were happening and I could help. Like, my abilities had opened and I was getting information. So I would just let these families know, hey, here it is. This is what it is. So
yeah, I mean, I applaud you for doing it, but I had to sit on a capital murder case as a juror back in 2010.
I didn't know that.
And the images and things that I saw still haunt me. So, and that was one case. Yeah. So I can't even imagine.
Right. But I'm finding myself, now that I'm just doing readings, I'm finding myself that I want to get into that more. So I'm being pulled into those types of things more. So I'm really kind of rethinking, you know, what I'm going to do as far as the type of readings I offer. But yeah, I'm trying to think. There's been so many. There was a nationwide case. Ashanti Billy, she just came up missing in Virginia on a military base. She worked at the Blimpie, and she came up missing. And her car was leaving the base, but it wasn't her. So I pretty much gave them the name of the street in another state where they found her at. So, but yeah, it's really, the adrenaline gets going. But I tell you what, those spirits, they get right to the point and they show me and give me the information I need, you know. So
yeah, the one I knew with you was about helping them find Lariah Hill. with Chickasaw Park.
Oh God, I have been, okay, yes, I did work on that, but I was sent a message by the grandmother through Facebook to cease and desist.
Really?
As far as any discussion about that case, when she was the one who invited me down.
Yeah. Very, very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much, I mean, so it gets a little,
Yeah, I can understand.
But you know what? It's not about anyone else but what that spirit wants me to do.
Yep.
But still, I mean, you really put yourself out there. Not just from a societal type response, but just, I mean, and I don't want to make this all negative and stuff, but I mean, there's a potentiality for legal stuff to get involved for, so I applaud your wanting to.
Absolutely.
I think it's a good service that people, not many people, have the ability or know so back to our previous discussions, or know they have the ability to do, and B, that not many people are willing to do for other folks. So
right, absolutely, you're so right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I read tarot, and I had a woman threaten to sue me one time that if what I said happened, she was gonna be real mad. Like,
oh my gosh! Well, see, and that's another thing. I don't like to do negative. I give negative information.
Right.
So I just kind of cut that out.
I pretty much do the same in my tarot. I keep it as positive as
yes. Yep, that's exactly what you have. And I've learned, like, your spirit guide will slowly, through small lessons, show you how to handle and do things, So, but I've given readings for, famous people, and so I'm just, I'm so excited to where I'm getting so that I can get the information and the knowledge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And help.
So not only, you do the readings and things like that, but you've been known to do some predictions as well. I mean, we've been following about your COVID-19 predictions as well as some other things. What are some ones that you came out with that came true? Just for our listeners, they love this shit. So.
Well, okay. Well, first of all, on Facebook, I think it was September 2016, before Trump was elected, I said that he would be elected because everyone, thought Hillary was going to, get it. I was like, no, he's going to be elected and he's going to get impeached.
Yeah.
So that definitely happened. Right. But I also, I kept getting October as a hot month. I was like, ooh, October's going to be it. It's going to be the month. Well, that's when the month that he got impeached. So, and I think I even said mid-October on top of that. So, but then, getting into I didn't see him out of office. People kept asking, well, is he going to die? I was like, no, I haven't seen that, because it doesn't matter what the people want. It's really what I get. Yeah. I'm not going to force information. So they didn't show me any of that.
Right, yeah, and impeached does not mean gone. So
right, but I saw him in office, but I saw the streets empty.
Interesting. And I guess it's got to be interesting for you too, because as a psychic myself, a very small psychic, we get these flashes and these images sometimes, and we have to make sense of them. And I do that when I read tarot. It's like, what is exactly does it mean? And then you see it and you go, yes.
Right. Well, the stadiums were empty also.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
So I said, I'm seeing the stadium's empty. I'm not sure if it's from Colin Kaepernick. I don't know what it is, the whole thing going on with that.
Yeah.
But Trump is in office. Stadiums are empty. The streets are empty. I said, and I feel like you guys need to start stocking up.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
That was two, but now that was like maybe closer to 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I said, not a lot, just slowly, just regular, like daily supplies, things like that. I wasn't putting any rush or, and I told him I didn't feel like we were going to war.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was anything like that, but I knew that it was information that was needed.
Yeah, that's why I like that you go back and you share, because I see how you shared the old post. You're like, look, guys, I told you.
Well, I didn't realize, at first I didn't realize that it's hard to go all the way back on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I need an archivist now. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Like, Jesus, I need a chef. I need an archivist. Like, what the heck is going on in my life? Right?
We talked about it, though, how sometimes we wonder if, like, we get stuff that today doesn't make any sense. But a week or a month or a year or whatever from now, I'm like, oh, man, well,
look how quick it changed. Like, to see empty streets and Trump is in office, that really, I was like, what is that?
Yeah, that's nuts.
I was like, what is it? But I didn't feel the panic of, like, war.
Right.
So
it's interesting that, and my sister goes through this a lot too. It's interesting to see people like you and her, people who, in my opinion, are very seasoned with these gifts, and to still be so excited when things come true, because it's like you still need external validation yourself.
Oh no, I have to tell you another JCPenney story. I'm sorry, I have to, because this is the creepiest shit stuff. Sorry, ever.
No, go ahead.
And because I was constantly, with my predictions coming true, I was constantly like jumping up in the air and like doing that in front of my coworkers, and they would always laugh whenever something came true of mine. Right, so that's why I'm even thinking of this. But so working in returns and where you pick up your packages, the online ordering.
Yeah.
Do you know that? Like, okay, so they moved that back downstairs to the original location. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was looking for a package. I couldn't find it, so I went to the girl at the desk that works back there, and I was like, "Can you look up this information?" So she was looking it up. I went back to the row, and I walked past. I walked all the way to the end almost, and I heard a package fall on the floor. She put her head around the corner. She said, V. She said, if that's the package, we were both like, so I walked back over there, and it was exactly the package that I was looking for. Mm. Now, there's like 70 to 100 packages, back there lined up.
Yeah.
So... So things were constantly happening up there. God, it's very active, very. But yeah. Oh.
Do you think that? And I think the answer to this is probably yes. But that spirits are attracted to certain people. Maybe even not even those that know that they have a gift, but they're just like lightning rods, if you will, for spirit activity.
Yeah, because some people are more sensitive than others. Some are going to be able to pick them up and some aren't. It just depends on how balanced that person is. So, yeah, sometimes if they know someone can feel them, even if they don't, aren't active with like being a medium or anything like that, they will definitely still come to them. Because it's sometimes it's and sometimes it's the spirits who haven't crossed yet that are a little more desperate to get your attention. So they kind of, I think a lot of them, you have the spirits that wait and when they feel comfortable, or they're, then they cross over. So like I said, it's definitely an option, and they'll just kind of do it when they're ready. But some spirits will definitely make themselves known to people who aren't, known for abilities or even know that they have abilities.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, Ms. V, we need to wrap up. But
Okay.
I already want to tell you we have got to have a round 2 sometime down the road for sure.
Yay!
Because
Good.
I know right now we haven't even scratched the surface. And so I'm
Right.
hoping this quarantine gets done, because we'd love to have you do an episode of our video show with us too, FearScape Unhinged. It'd be super fun. Josh has never had a reading like that before, so that might be fun to do. Something, anything like that. We would love to have
For
you back.
sure.
But
Yeah,
we
for
wanted to again remind people, Vashti Hooper, Miss V, the real medium. Where can they find you to get in touch with you or to just follow you?
Okay. Well, to book with me a session, it's therealmediumbooking@gmail.com. And as far as Instagram, you can find me at _real medium. And I do have a page on Facebook. It's connected to my Instagram page. It's called The Real Medium also.
Cool. Yep. And we'll, of course, be sharing those, and we'll be connecting and making sure people are able to find you. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes, I enjoyed it so much.
We could talk all night, I'm telling you right now. And we may need to. We may need to.
Yes, I'm telling you.
We are very personable people, but we are so thankful. But stick around for a second. We want to get in our listener story. And it's interesting that you had talked about it, because last week's listener story came from one of our listeners named Ronnie Flynn, and he had talked about being in the room where this guy had died. He was a racist and things like that, and he would get really sick in the stomach every time he tried to do an EVP session. And I had a conversation with him. I was like, hey, man, here's what's going on. So it's very, very interesting. We talked about how those negative entities can make your stomach ill, and that was our listener story.
Oh, yeah.
So I found that very, very interesting. But this week, our listener story comes from a woman named Katie Lyons. I believe this, again, comes from Haunted History of Kentucky. We've started a new thing where we're having some of our actor friends do the listener stories. So this one is going to be from my friend Kristy Hutchinson. She lives in Arkansas, actually, and she will be portraying Katie Lyons.
My name is Katie Lyons, and I'm from Kentucky. I grew up in Louisville in the 80s. The house that was across the street to the right of my parents' house was supposedly haunted. Apparently, a husband and wife had lived there, and there ended up being a murder-suicide. The man killed the woman and cut her into pieces and then shot himself. I recall several people moving into the house, but never staying more than a year each time. I also had a few friends that moved in, but I never went inside. I always played outside because the house itself always creeped me out. I remember it being vacant one time and a friend of mine talking me into walking over there to try to look inside the house. We walked up the driveway, and I'll never forget. We went to peek inside the kitchen window. Nobody had lived there for a while. We looked in the window, and the dark figure of a woman was standing there, staring at us, and disappeared within a few seconds. We ran back to my house and never wanted to go back over there again.
Wow.
So yeah, that comes from Katie Lyons. Thank you, Katie, for sharing that story with us.
Yes, it's so many stories out there like that.
So many. I mean, these Facebook groups, just the Kentucky ones that we're on. I mean, just daily there are so many stories, and then of course you get to these nationwide ones or worldwide ones, and there's hundreds a day. It's absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, you, Katie, are not the first person to have seen something like that. So no, honey, you are not alone.
It kind of. Do you remember the movie? Well, it's actually come up in a couple of different movies, but one of the X-Men movies where the guy, Patrick Stewart's character, I can't think of it, Charles Xavier, would go into Cerebro and he'd put the little helmet on and he'd be able to see either mutants or humans. So I kind of imagine it's like that, where instead of seeing mutants, though, you're seeing spirits. And so you can kind of pinpoint in, you can drill in on either seeing humans or you can drill in on seeing spirits. And so it's just, there's that many walking around, if you will, floating. that you can distinguish them if you have the right lens.
Right,
Mhm.
right. And it's even more
for
so
sure.
if they want to show themselves to you. So,
Yes. Yes.
because like I said, like the when I saw my Aunt Kathy, she was as shocked as I was when we locked eyes, because she gave me a look of, oh, you can see me?
Right. And I swear, the first spirit that when I was little, he thought I was going to come through the dining room door, but I changed my mind real quick and I went through the kitchen door. So he literally turned his head and interacted with me in that way and smirked at me like,
Wow.
you caught me, or yeah. He had a pipe in his mouth and he had on like those old golfer pants, like Knickerbocker,
Yeah.
and those long,
Uh-huh.
and the hat, he looked like he was in, a black and white TV. But he interacted with me. He smirked at me. He thought I was going to come the other way.
Wow.
But yeah, it is kind of like they're surprised. Oh, you can see me?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us on our show. We really, really, really had a good time. I appreciate you so much.
Yep.
It was a pleasure. I did also. Yes.
And like I said, we will absolutely have you back. I'd love to get a chance to meet you before I move to Phoenix. So that'll be hopefully soon. We're still we're still doing the show, but it'll be just like this.
Sounds good to me. That's awesome. Okay. Well, it was so good talking with you guys.
Yep. And Josh, I guess we got to get out of here, buddy. It was good talking to you too.
Yep.
And next week, guys, we got a good show, so be on the lookout for that. But it's time to rock and roll. We got to get out of here. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to FearScape Paranormal Podcast. This has been Stefan, and I will catch you on the flip side.
This has been Josh. The truth is out there.
And remember, folks, hold those blankets extra tight. Things tend to get spooky when we're on. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good night.
Good night.
I'm so glad you were able to join us for that horrifying discussion. I hope they didn't frighten you too much. Tune in next week for even more research into the nightmarish and haunting creeps and spooks that we tell ourselves don't exist, but we know they do. Make sure you have your blankets, that you hold them extra tight. Next time on FearScape.